On a Saturday night, back with Jeff Parles. I'm Ben Wilson from downtown Las Vegas. We're at the Circa Sportsbook studios, Jeff. And it is the time of the show where we take a look at the Circa Millions consensus lines for week number 6, and we decide whether we are going to fade or follow. A little exercise that we like to do. Jeff, you and the Wes man, Wes Reynolds, who hosts the Betting Across America and Green Zone duo on the weekends with our guy Dave Ross. You have a team so far, Jeff. Good start for you guys. How'd it go last week?
Yeah, we had a rough go last week. We went 1-4, so our worst week so far. Still at 16-9. Still plenty of time to go. And boy, I know we're getting into the consensus now. And there are 4 that we anticipated would be in the consensus. There is one that it is shocking to me that this team is in the consensus, even though we have it in our place.
Well, I don't think the one we're about to mention is. Now, there is a look at your Circa Millions Week 6 consensus selection counts. And number 1, this is probably the least surprising one, Jeff, just because of all the COVID-related news coming out of Arizona. But the Cleveland Browns selected by nearly 1,700 entrants. That's among the highest that we have seen in any of these weeks for a single game selected all season. Cleveland Browns, who have moved now market-wide to -3.5 in the market as they take on the Cliff Kingsbury-less Arizona Cardinals. The likely has not been officially ruled out, Jeff, but Chandler Jones, arguably the best defensive player on Arizona, although J.J. Watt has put up ridiculous numbers this year in his first season as a Cardinal. Likely no Chandler Jones, who's doubtful, also in quarantine, but no Cliff Kingsbury nor quarterback coach Cam Turner out due to COVID. So it's the return of Vance Joseph wearing the
having the time of his life.
Is he? I think he will be having the time of his life. Hopefully we can get Sergio Dip out there to Cleveland to report on that tomorrow. But that being said, Jeff, I understand why people at the 3 with all those issues would just auto fire on Cleveland. And in addition, we talk about spot betting all the time in the National Football League. Arizona coming off 2 really rough, physical, and emotional games where they win against a couple of NFC West foes at the Rams, and then last week against the 49ers. On the surface, this feels like a really tough spot for them before you even throw in all the coaching issues that they will have without having their head coach on the sideline. Jeff, we've seen one team already get decimated from a coaching staff perspective. That was the Saints in week 2. They had 8 different assistants, still with their head coach Sean Payton available, but 8 assistants out due to COVID in that game against the Panthers, and they looked awful in a game where they were steamrolled from the start and were blown out in that game. Now, Arizona's much better, certainly, than the New Orleans Saints, Jeff, but are you in agreement here with the consensus saying, look, I'm getting a team on the road off of 2 big divisional wins in a row who doesn't have a head coach. I'm only laying 3, so let me lay it.
Oh, yeah. We put this in.
Okay. You put it in. All right.
Yeah, this was
one of the 1,600.
Yeah, we were. This was our top, our one that we put in first because we actually agreed on it. So, look, okay. I know Nick Chubb isn't playing. I know that is a little bit of a concern. Looks like Jarvis Landry is going to be activated off IR and go. But last time I checked for Cleveland, Kareem Hunt is still really good.
Yes.
And it's really not a huge drop-off from Chubb to Hunt in the number 1 in the backfield. On the Chandler Jones top positive COVID test is really the biggest thing this week for the Cardinals. They lose their best pass rusher. That's the thing I'm looking at the most. And look, I think Arizona's going to struggle to move the ball. Now, I know Cleveland got sliced and diced like crazy last week by the Chargers, but the Chargers' offense is at a different level than Arizona's. And I know Arizona's is really good, but Cleveland is getting healthier up front defensively as well. They were banged up going into that game against the Chargers. They couldn't really get the pass rush going. I expect them to get the pass rush going here. And Kyler Murray's not 100%, Ben. And last year when we saw Kyler Murray not at 100%, things went really badly for Kyler Murray. He was not the same. He's a guy that needs to be at 100%. I think this is a rout tomorrow. I think Cleveland really takes it to Arizona. After that loss last week, that offense is humming. That defense bounces back. Cardinals suffered their first loss in Cleveland covers 3.
Even with no Nick Chubb
Doesn't matter
for Cleveland, you have Kareem Hunt, the number 1 rush DVOA offense this season in Cleveland. Look at it on the Arizona side, who's had a really good start to the year defensively, 4th in overall defensive DVOA. However, 29th in yards per play allowed against the run so far. And to me, Jeff, the sirens go off a little bit. Not only that, but more so, as you point out on the Kyler Murray side, it's a pretty simple. If you want the simplistic breakdown that I can provide you, it's this: Kyler Murray weeks 1 to 11 last year, which was before he suffered that shoulder injury and played hurt the rest of the season. The Cardinals were averaging well into the plus EPA, expected points added per play, every single game, and on the balance of play, they were a positive EPA per play team weeks 1 through 11. Weeks 11 through 17, Jeff?
Go ahead.
They were negative EPA per play. A pretty massive drop-off, and that was not without Kyler Murray. That was still with Kyler in, but just playing hurt. And while you can debate how less than 100% is he actually, from what we saw on the sidelines, Jeff, it was not, when you have a quarterback nursing his throwing shoulder, trying to stretch it out, it did not look particularly good. So even though I expect him to play, this is kind of the spot where I expect, Jeff, the Cardinals to start to tail off. So I'm with you. This is a contest play for me. I am going to follow the consensus. Even at 3.5, I would not have an issue laying it, even though you've had chances this week, throughout the week, to play it at 3. But I think it's a fair market reaction. I don't know that I would really be wanting to tease Arizona, even though you're teasing them up to 9.5 with a great offense. I'm just not totally sold on that. So we're in lockstep, which is always great because we know it could happen when Jeff and I both agree wholeheartedly on the same thing. But that's number one, and that is your number one consensus play of the week. Number two, to me, Jeff, this has to be more of just a number spot than anything, because on Friday, we saw Packers-Bears, this line shoot up from 4.5 to as high as 6 with the news that the Bears would not only be still without their top running back, David Montgomery, but also without their second running back in a game like this, with Damian Williams listed as doubtful. And so you saw this balloon all the way up to 6. There was some buyback at that number, Jeff, but it is back up to 6, basically market-wide. You see a 5.5 juice to the Packers at DraftKings on the East Coast. So it's understandable, right, that the number 2 pick would be, all right, Packers, you're only laying 4.5 in the contest, just fire on them, right?
I would say so. I mean, that's pretty much going to be the rationale here. Also, too, what has Chicago shown us this year that they can compete with the Packers? And I understand that the Packers have not been overly impressive, Ben. There have been plenty of issues so far, even though they have won 4 straight games after that total debacle week 1 against New Orleans. But Chicago's one of the worst 3-2s you're ever going to see. And this has kind of been what it's been with Nagy, except for the year they won the NFC North. They find ways to win games despite not being any good. Look, I know the Packers are missing guys in the secondary. Maybe this is a game where Justin Fields kicks off a good run and a run potentially to Offensive Rookie of the Year. But in the end here, I like Green Bay comfortably. We didn't put it in our contest because we anticipated this would be a contest consensus on Green Bay. Look, the Packers' defense is soft enough that a backdoor could happen here. But I think Green Bay probably wins this game by at least a touchdown at Soldier Field. And, Ben, you know this rivalry well.
I do.
The Packers have owned this rivalry since Aaron Rodgers has gotten there.
That is true. This will be featured in my bets later. This will be a moneyline parlay leg for me with Green Bay, just solely on the basis of, and I actually, if you're making me play anything on this game, I actually kind of like under here. Mm-hmm. But you ask, all right, well, how is this Matt Nagy team as head coach? How are they still in these games and winning them? They've been the best red zone defense team in the league so far, the Bears. They have been outstanding when teams move the ball on them and get toward the red zone. They've only allowed 35% of opponent drives to end in touchdowns. When you're only giving up 3, Jeff, instead of 7, that goes a long way, even with the struggles they've had on offense. But where I see things being a struggle for them against the Green Bay defense, it has been bad. Look, 31st in offensive DVOA on the pass, whereas they've been 12th with the run. But when you lose your top 2 guys, Jeff, I don't care who you're throwing back there. They're going to have a rookie 6th-round pick in Khalil Herbert, who legitimately started his career at Kansas and couldn't even get on the field at Kansas. Yes, Kansas, that team who's won like no more than 2 games a year for the last decade, has a massive season at Virginia Tech after transferring out of the program, and now is going to be finding himself as the starting running back in a huge rivalry game like this. While Green Bay has not looked like they have clicked on all cylinders yet, especially defensively, but even on offense, it's not like Aaron Rodgers and company have been incredibly sharp. At the same time, Jeff, it's hard for me to see a scenario where you have Justin Fields and the Bears off of just a Herculean defensive performance. They will need that defensive output to stay the same, I think, to keep up games like this against good offenses. They actually win the games. I don't see them putting this type of play up 2 weeks in a row, especially after what we saw last week in that win at the Raiders in Las Vegas, where the Raiders, they might have had a distraction or two going on the side. Just a hunch.
Yeah, I would say
that spot. So
I would say so.
I don't know that I would want to lay at 6. Not a terrible teaser candidate, Jeff, but I think I'm going to money line parlay him tomorrow. So we're following. Look at it. When have we done this? We're following the top 2 consensus picks. Wow. What could go wrong? Week 6 of the NFL. We'll talk about the 3 remaining consensus picks next, right here on VSiN BetCenter.
And